Committee to order. The date is December 21st. The time is 4 o'clock. With us today for the meeting, we have Alderman Tolliver, Alderwoman Bade, Alderman Warman, Alderman Bugg, and myself, Alderman Franco. First item is 23-1040, approve of the minutes from the Finance Committee meeting held on December 14, 2023. Do we have a motion? We have a motion by Alderman Warman.
Second.
Second by Alderman Tolliver. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Madam Clerk, anybody from the public wishing to speak?
No, we do not.
Thank you. All right, first item on the agenda is 23-0882, a resolution to provide annual true-up to Scientel Solutions LLC, 2021 North Yola Road, Aurora, for preventive maintenance and support of citywide CCTV for a total of $71,765.
Good afternoon, Chairman Franco, members of the committee. Jeff Anderson, City WCIO. I have with me today Joe Mayer from Scientel. And Joe, you want to come up and just introduce yourself, and we can talk a little bit about the partnership, and then we got the two of them back to back here.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, everyone. My name is Joe Mayer, Chief Operating Officer for Scientel Solutions. We've been a partner with the city now for some time on both this CCTV as well as a network managed services contract. Jeff's going to be presenting some details on where that contract currently stands, and I'll be available for questions if you have any. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll go to the 23-0882 about the CCTV, the closed circuit TVs that the city has, TV cameras the city has throughout the city. Scientel provides preventive maintenance and support of those. When we need to install new cameras, we need to replace them, we need to get them realigned, we need to have them cleaned. They do that work for us. Prior to when we had this arrangement with Scientel, we at some points in time had as many as 35% of our cameras down citywide. We have about 700 cameras citywide, looking at mostly city assets and intersections. And prior, now I think we talked this morning. We have 4. So I mean, this is something that works. The issue before we had someone who could do this specific work was who could do it at the city. We really didn't have, Public Works can get the cherry picker out and get up on a and do those things, but they're not able to do the connectivity and make sure they test it and make it work in the back end. And IT could do the second half of that, but not get up in the cherry picker, right? So this makes sense from that standpoint, and it's charged on a per camera basis. And so what we do then with this arrangement, we buy the cameras, they install them. The city buys the cameras, they install them for us. This represents the increase in the number of cameras that we've had over the last year, which then increases the maintenance fee for the next year. And they charge us in blocks, basically $500 a camera.
Questions or comments from the committee? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Alderman Warman. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Tolliver. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that passes 5-0. Next one is 23-0883, a resolution to provide annual true-up to Scientel Solutions LLC, 2021 North Yola Road, Aurora, for network infrastructure managed services of citywide network infrastructure for an amount not to exceed $139,050.
Thank you, Chairman. Again, Jeff Anderson, Deputy CIO. I'll point out right up front, there is a mistake in the background section, second paragraph here, that has to do with an average cost for Scientel there, and I'll get that corrected before COW with the dollar amounts here. What Scientel has helped us do, before we got into this arrangement, we had 2 distinct physical networks. We had the police department, the public safety network, if you will, and the rest of the city network. Physically different, duplicated a lot of equipment unnecessarily. They've helped us come in and redesign, redeploy, and switch us from completely a very expensive Cisco network to one that's now running on Fortinet equipment. And so they manage the deployment, the planning, the installation, the deployment, and the management of those devices as they go forward, security patches, those kinds of things on our behalf. So then we can then take ownership of the traffic and make sure the performance of the network is where it needs to be. So that's the intent behind this one. Very similar to the CCTV one, which is that it's based on the number of devices we have deployed out in the field, and this one is actually in blocks that are defined in the attachment, and they're actually on the display here. I'll actually go through this one here quickly. They're in the chart here. You can see they have bands here, ranges for us that are roughly looks like 100 devices, blocks. So we're now in the block there, that fourth block down is where we are, number of devices out in the field. And so this is providing internet access to all the various different locations we have throughout the city, from pumps, et cetera, to buildings like this one where we have hundreds of people sitting in.
Questions or comments from the committee? Alderman Bug.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Normally in our discussion, our legislative document, we talk, especially with IT, we talk about that the vendor is a sole source, or we have a special arrangement where no one else could really service, our process. That's somewhat the case here. Of course, we had Cisco before. We moved on from them. So currently, how long is our arrangement with Scientel? And, well, I'll let you answer that first.
Okay, so, and just to be clear, we did go through a competitive RFP process through Marketplace with this when we did this up front, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, 3 years ago, right?
Exactly. So it's a 3-year arrangement with I believe it's 3 one-year options.
Right.
So we'd be picking them up next year, this time next year. Sorry, it's 2. Thank you, Mike.
Okay. So after 2024, will we go back out? Are we at a point where this will become a sole source type of thing?
Well, at that point, I think we'll make that decision along with the finance group, exactly what the procurement states we need to do. If we need to go back out, we can. If we can continue because it's been very successful, we know from where I stand today, that's where we'd like to go, just from the success we've had. But if we need to go back out, then we would do that.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, Scientel, of course, has done a fantastic job. We always get the questions from other firms, will you give us a shot? Well, we have the arrangement now, it's 3 years, we're gonna continue on. It's been cost savings to the city, and they've done a great job, but, they still ask, will you give someone else a shot, so.
Sure, and we'd be glad to talk to others. That what we got when we went through this the first time was just the breadth we could get. There are lots of firms that can manage, a small business kind of an arrangement where you've got 10 or 15 devices, something like that, right? But having, network operations center that's local, that's the size of what Scientel can provide for us, with the notifications and those kinds of things they can provide for us when things do go wrong, and the fact that they're right here, is all played a part in why we selected them in the first place.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Excuse me, any other questions?
I
Alderwoman
do.
Bevade?
Thank you, Chairman. Does it impact us in any way, this contract, this will come to City Council next year?
Yes. So what we've actually done here, and it was good work and guidance from the finance group, from Mr. Minnick's team, is that when we brought this last year, we brought sort of a combination of things with it. And what you'll see from us now going forward is you'll have the true up here, which will be just the increase in any increase in the maintenance costs. We'll come to you back early January here with expected capital outlays, like new switches and whatnot for this one, and new cameras for the previous one, separate, and then any other contract addendums would come separately. We sort of brought those in, and it was I think it was a little confusing when we presented it the last couple of years. This I think makes it a lot more clear exactly what this purpose is, and then what the capital outlays will be going forward.
Thank you, that's all.
Any other questions or
Motion
comments?
to approve.
We have a motion by Alderwoman Bade, second by Alderman Moorman. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is 23-1044, resolution authorizing the provision of American Rescue Plan Act funding for the Aurora Civic Center Authority in the amount of $4,500,000 for 2024.
Thank you. Chris Minnick, Chief Financial Officer for the city. During and immediately after the pandemic, the city has shown support for various businesses, industries, and key sectors of the community and the local economy. Several programs have been instituted and administered to assist in mitigating the impacts of COVID-19 for small local businesses and impacted industries. The city has been supportive and flexible in allocating resources and funding to allow local businesses to survive and ultimately to thrive in the post-pandemic economy. The Aurora Civic Center Authority, ACA, is a key driver of economic activity in the city, and particularly in the downtown. ACA operates the Paramount Theater, Rivers Edge Park, and Copley Theater in the downtown. Many local businesses are beneficiaries of ACA's high-quality, affordable productions. This enhanced economic activity creates consumptive tax revenue for the city and is very important to maintaining a healthy and vibrant downtown. In fact, the committee will recall when we discussed the budget, we specifically discussed the importance of consumptive taxes to the city's general fund and the provision of general governmental services for the citizens of the city. However, locally and nationally, arts and cultural organizations have experienced significant financial consequences from the pandemic. Trends in lower attendance, fewer subscribers, and higher costs have been prevalent since theater companies have reopened. In some companies, these circumstances have led to instances of layoff of personnel and reduced or suspended programming. While the Aurora Civic Center Authority has not had to implement the same drastic measures as some of the performance companies, ACA has not been immune to these national trends. These circumstances have created negative impacts to ACA's financial results since the pandemic began. Operational changes will likely be necessary to adapt to prevailing conditions in the theater industry. This presents a two-pronged situation that needs to be addressed. Number one, we need to shore up funding in the short term so that operations can continue in 2024. And number two, we need to adopt a comprehensive, longer-term, sustainable operating plan, allowing for optimal financial performance in the long term. The city has the means through America Rescue Plan Act, ARPA funding, to provide financial assistance to shore up operations in the short run. Excuse me. This is an acceptable use of ARPA and is the type of use contemplated when ARPA was enacted. The city provided similar assistance to ACA for operations during 2023. It was anticipated then that the need would likely extend into 2024. In order to bridge the anticipated short-term funding gap, assistance in the amount of $4.5 million to ACA is recommended from the ARPA funding allocation. This would leave approximately $3.5 million left in unallocated ARPA funding for the city. This funding support would provide resources for ACA in the short term while also facilitating the development of a long-term plan to allow ACA to adapt to the slow recovery in the theater industry and the climate in which they currently operate. Staff will continue to participate in the process and collaborate with ACA staff on the potential changes and solutions to be incorporated into the long-term plan to be presented in the coming months. ACA representatives are present. The resolution is enclosed in your Legistar, and we would be happy to answer any questions. Tim, do you have any comments that you would like to make initially?
No.
Okay. Then we would be happy to answer any questions.
So I got a couple questions. Last year, we approved ARPA funds. How, was it like 2.5 million last year? Do we know? Do you
It was 5.5 million.
5.5 million.
Yes.
So 5.5, so we're at 10 million in ARPA funding. I thought I recall last year that this long-term plan that we're going to get was going to be done last year, because I could have sworn we had the same conversation. We're doing a long-term plan. It's a year later and a few months in addition, because we'll have it in a couple months. What happened to the plan? Did we have a plan, or did we just not have a plan yet, hence we haven't executed?
We've been diving into ACA's operating documents, their financial statements, having discussions about upcoming plans, the theater operations, the administrative policies and practices, just about everything. I mean, we're doing a very deep dive on the finances and the administration and the various pieces and parts, because ACA has many venues that it operates in the downtown and not just performance venues. They also have a school that is on that is in the downtown as well. And we're taking a very comprehensive look at all of these elements, and it has just taken a little bit longer than we thought, and we're doing an exhaustive search to make sure that we don't outlook or overlook any viable options at this point.
So,
Oh, and
go ahead, Mr. Alexander, because I'll have another.
So let me, you're right, step one was last year, there was great urgency at that time. Since that time, Mr. Minnick hit it right on the head, we've been working very closely with Tim and his team, really slicing and dicing numbers, looking at their projections, and unfortunately, the business they're in is constantly shifting. Costs, as Chris indicated, and as is reflected in the cover memo, have increased more than expected. While we're looking at about 38,000 subscribers, it's still down from pre-pandemic levels. There are signs of positive recovery, but it just took longer than we expected. However, the good news is that this 4.5 is being counted as part of that longer-term plan. So it's the 5.5, that was that immediate assistance at that time. That got them through to where we're at today. But doing nothing would cause some significant concern in the beginning of '24. So this financial assistance is part of the overall, what we're projecting to be a 3-year financial plan to stability, profitability, while maintaining all of their terrific venues that we all count on in the downtown. So that the 4.5 will go towards the 24, 25, and 26 total number. Now, we will be coming to the council first quarter. What was our latest projection is towards the end of the first quarter with the rest of the story, as Paul Harvey used to say. And that will be very well laid out, and you will see not only the long-term financial projections, but what's the remainder of any long-term financial assistance from the city. So again, I remind everybody, we go back to the damage done by COVID, primarily to our 4 pillars of, right? And this is clearly one of the ACA is one of those 4 pillars. So we are fortunate that they're still going strong with strong signs of life, unlike in other communities where their theater groups either cut or shut down. But Chris, the mayor, myself, we all talked to Tim, we've talked to their board about coming up with a solid, well-thought-out plan, and that's what we'll bring. We're just not at that point, but this money will go towards that almost as a credit, if that makes sense.
It does, and everything you said makes sense. Everything you're doing, I think is appropriate. I know it's the engine, we have to do what we need to do. It just seemed to me that a year goes by and we can't come up with a plan in a year. And I know it's
Well,
very different, and I understand it, but it just seems
with all
like,
due respect, it's easier said than done because Tim and his team are living it day to day. They see increases in materials. They see the public now, all of us are in love with streaming their entertainment. So it's not just their industry, but not just live theater, but movie theaters are still struggling. Anything to do with them are still struggling. So we are in a position, this money, if you recall, is intended for these types of uses to continue to repair the damage from COVID. This is not general fund money. This is money that we're obligated to commit and spend. The city looked at some other potential uses, but none were as compelling for the long-term viability of our local economy, not to mention the downtown, than this one.
well, then I would say, and I get all that. I would hope that if we can't get a plan in the next couple of months, give us something to say, here's where we're at with the plan, I mean, because.
Oh, no, let's mark it down. You will get a plan.
Okay,
There is
because,
no more dancing around, not that we're dancing, it's theater, so we're not acting.
Right.
It's, you will have a plan.
Right.
We've worked too hard to get to this point.
right, and I get all that. It just seems, to me, it just seemed like a long time, and of course, if we get a plan, then we can start execute a plan, so we get a plan. We're talking almost 1/3 of our ARPA money, and I understand this is what it's for, is going to Paramount as we need to, because this is one of the engines. But I think we just need to get on top of that, pretty quick to say, okay, at least city council, here's where we're at, and we'll have more plans later. Just throw us a bone, just show us something is happening. Because I just thought a year, I'm like, I could have sworn we talked about this last year, so.
And you're not
I get-
wrong.
I get
You're
all
right.
the moving parts, but the sooner the better would be kind of nice, that's all.
Agreed.
Understood.
Any other questions or comments, Alderman Warner?
One question. So you said this in first quarter, we'll have this 3-year plan. Do you foresee the city still assisting? I don't know what happened before I was elected or anything like that, but do you foresee the city still participating or will it ever stand alone, I guess, or is there always going to be city assistance?
There will be city assistance. It will not be in the form of ARPA.
Perfect.
So we're reviewing all their operations, all their plans. It's no secret, they've talked about year-round programming. And Tim, again, I don't want to, I've been in these meetings so many times, I talk about this in my sleep, but the fact that they're preparing and planning and have successfully negotiated with folks like Disney to offer summer programming, which will allow for year-round theatrical performances. At one point, we will get to between 1,000 and 1,200 performances a year. So I can tell you unequivocally, the restaurants that have decided to come down here aren't coming because they're a block from City Hall. They're coming because of the Paramount Theater. They're coming because the parents drop off their kids at the Paramount School of the Arts. They're going to see the Bold series. So these are ever-changing plans, but one thing is certain, the common denominator is the Paramount Theater. I mean,
Well, it almost sounds like you just gave us some plans. It's good.
Well-
It's working in your head right now. We're actually hearing some plans,
But-
now, which is good.
yeah, again, we don't want to prematurely say something that we can't deliver, so we're working very hard. You know, there was some wonderful advice given years ago by Dan Hampton to William Perry when he was experiencing a lot of fame and fortune early in his career, and Dan Hampton told him, and I'm going to clean this up, obviously, don't let your mouth write a check that your posterior can't cash. And so we are at that point here, and we have everyone on board. Their board, their staff, Tim's leading the way. And so we're very excited about the future, but this is a step 2 part of the long-term plan.
Any other questions, Alderwoman Bade?
I wanted to check if we are applying for any other federal type of grants for arts.
So we are constantly scouring through our grant writer. They're the subject matter experts. They are constantly looking.
We've actually hired a grant writer specifically for this purpose. She started just a few months ago, so she's also working on that.
So right now, we've had our federal, we have all hands on deck. There's just not a lot, if anything, out there for the arts.
And state as well.
Post-COVID.
It's not just state, or federal, but we're looking at state as
Correct.
well. Yeah.
And Tim, since you're here,
Yeah.
if you could give just a little overview of what happened last year, how was it better than previous years?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Great.
You know, we were part of our. There's lots of things happening. There's lots of really good things happening, and this next year we think we're going to take another step forward. This year was a step forward. I mean, we did better this last year than we did the year before, and we did not see the growth in our subscription that we thought we would. But we didn't go backwards, and that is different than most theaters right now. And we are the largest subscription-based theater in the nation right now, and we know we can continue to develop that. Our subscriber base for our Bold series was up, went from about 2,000 subscribers, we're almost 3,000, so it's up 50%. Lots more single tickets for that. We are just right about 500 performances right now. Next year, as programmed, we're right around 700. We are hoping, not hoping, we're planning to open our Stolp Island Theater with our first production of $1 Million Quartet in July. July 10th is our targeted date, and we have final designs. We approved some bids yesterday. Yesterday, our board approved some bids for mechanical work, some plumbing, some concrete. So we're full steam ahead, and that's part of this. And part of what we've been trying to do is keep doing what we were planning on doing in the most reasonable way possible to make sure that we continue to grow. There's another way to go. I mean, we could cut programs. We could not do some of the outreach that we do, the school, the Bold series. There is a way to save money, but in our conversations right now, this is what we hope to do. We hope to continue to provide the services that we have, the performances that we have, and then some. And I'm not allowed to talk much because I tend to be an open book, and I'm not supposed to share too much, but there's some really exciting stuff in the years ahead that I think fixes all of this. That there isn't really a perpetual need for Paramount funding support, especially at this level. That can't be the way that we operate. And right now this business is very hard, musical theater business specifically, and things have kind of rebounded in the concert business, and comedians and Live Nation's making a ton of money. Musical theater, not so much. Nobody's making the money that they used to. The margins are very, very small, if any, and costs go up, material costs, but also labor. All of our unions, we have 5 unions, none of their wages are going down. So we have a lot of really good stuff, including our relationship with Disney. We're about to announce our season next year. Our 24-25 Broadway season will announce at the end of February, but we had 2 regional premieres. We're the first to do 2 Broadway shows here in the Chicago market, and one of them is Frozen. And we're going to be doing that for 12 weeks, and that's because of our relationship with Disney. So it's good. We have a lot of really good stuff, and we do have a need for the next few years, and it's not small. It's not small, but we think we have a solution for 2027 that might reduce it or eliminate it completely. So that's our hope, but we have to iron that out. We have a lot. We're actually investing to iron that out. We've got some studies happening and more work to do, and we hope to bring that to all of you in the very near future, no later than the end of the first quarter. That's our plan.
Any other questions or comments? Alderman Donnell.
Slightly off topic, but
Yeah.
could you describe to me how the Stolp Island Interactive Theater, what is that going to look like? How is that going to function?
Gosh, I wish I'd had the new designs that have come in.
Maybe we'll have it for COW.
I can definitely provide them for the committee of the whole meeting. It is, right now it's a 98-seat experience. So what happens is you walk into what used to be the restaurant there at the bottom level of that parking deck, and you walk in, there's a box office, you go through a couple doors to the Stolp Island Theater, and you're on the street outside of Sun Record Studio, which is where $1 Million Quartet took place, inside Sun Record Studio, where Elvis, Carl Perkins, Jerry Lee Lewis, and Johnny Cash all did a jam session. So you're actually, when you're inside the building, you're standing on the street. There's a Taylor's Food where you can get a beverage. Hopefully you'll get a beverage or two. And then you walk through Sun Records foyer, kind of a museum sort of quality dramaturgical experience where you'll see the records on the walls and the desk and the chairs, and then you walk into the theater. It's very intimate. When you walk into the theater, it's really Sun Record Studio. You're in the Sun Record Studio, and then there's the piano you walk past, the drum kit, the guitars, and the bass is setting up, and there's 3 rows of seats, and you're sitting in Sun Record Studio with these very famous musicians where they jammed out, and you're part of the show. You're watching the show. It's very intimate. It's going to be quite special. For those that have seen, we had 55,000 people come see our production when it was at the Paramount. This is going to be an up close. It's this size. It's about the size of this room is the performance space, maybe a little bigger. It's going to be really unique. It's going to be the sort of thing that will sell quickly and should run for years. It'll be an experience that's very unique and should be something that draws people for a very long time to Aurora. Very, very proud of where we're at that. We have a lot of work to do to get it ready still, but we're in really good shape.
And if I can add, Tim and Jim pitched us the idea a number of years ago after going to New York City, where they have an entire old antique hotel
It's a five-story hotel.
five-story hotel that's been converted into Shakespeare's Macbeth, right?
It's an adaptation of the Scottish play.
Of Macbeth.
Yeah, technically, you're supposed to say a Scottish play because that's bad luck to say the word Macbeth. So
Oh, I didn't know that.
now we're
Okay,
both
great.
jinxing us. So.
Now we're both jinxing. But they came back and they said, we asked them, how was it? Because we were at that time thinking, are there some buildings downtown we could do that in? They said, we don't know. And the mayor and I were like, what do you mean you don't know? He said, we don't know. It's so hard to describe, but we can't stop thinking about it and we want to go back. And the whole time they were there, people were paying $150 for a slot to go in and watch, and you can enter at any floor, any room, and every experience was different. So when they developed this concept of this interactive, you are literally going to be in the jam session with Elvis and Carl Perkins and Johnny Cash and Jerry Lee Lewis. You're going to be right there. I mean, right there, you four. I'm going to be sitting right here watching you guys jam out.
Well, we don't have to sing, right?
You can sing,
You,
but
you
you'll
might be asked to
drowned
leave
out
if
by
you're a little
Elvis
loud.
probably. But it's going to be spectacular.
It will be. And that production was Sleep No More, and it's actually closing after 10 years. Just
That's what it was called,
Sleep No More was the name of the production in New York.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a different type of experience. It's to complement what we're doing with our Broadway series, with our Bold series. It's just another type of entertainment to help bring people downtown. We believe in volume, and that's why we try to keep our pricing somewhat reasonable. Not everyone can afford even a $50 or $60 ticket, but we try. And so we believe in volume. The restaurants need that. We all need that, and that's what this is another thing to complement the people that are coming to the Paramount.
Any other questions or comments? I will say, though, that $1 Million Quartet, that's spot on, because that will bring in everybody. That is one of the most outstanding plays we've ever seen here, and I used to see it at the Apollo Theater a number of times. It's perfect for what you're talking about.
Ran 7 years at the Apollo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right now, our ticket prices are $65. We squeak out a small margin on that on a weekly basis. So that's our anticipated ticket price.
Great. Just gotta charge $12 for a beer, we'll make our money back. Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion by Alderman Mormon, second by Alderman Bug. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Thank you very much.
Passes 5-0. Thank you, Tim. Anything else come before the Finance Committee?
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion by Alderwoman Bade. Second by Alderman Warman. Before we go, as I was going to say last time, I want everybody to have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Thank you, Finance Committee, for another year of outstanding work. We got a lot of things done this year. You guys were great during the budget. Appropriate, great questions, very comprehensive, so thank you very much for chipping in. Thanks, staff, Mayor's office, everybody, Dave, and everybody for what you did this year, because it takes a team effort to get these things done, so appreciate everybody's.
Thank you, Chairman.
No problem, and all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned at 4:33.
It's no joke, see you next year or anything like that?